When a top law enforcement official starts dodging simple yes or no questions in front of Congress, it's not confidence, it's concealment. And what unfolded between Congresswoman Madeleine and Attorney General Pam Bondi wasn't just a tense political exchange, it was a public unmasking. A moment where loyalty, ethics, and truth collided live on camera. From the second Dean began pressing her, Bondi's calm facade cracked. You could feel it. The discomfort, the hesitation, the calculation behind every word. And by the time it ended, the room wasn't just watching an argument. It was watching accountability fight for its life. Dean didn't start with insults. She started with facts. A direct, cutting question: were you registered as a lobbyist for Qatar? No theatrics, no spin, just a demand for honesty.
Of this administration are incompetence, corruption, and cruelty. I'm going to focus today on corruption. And in my mind, there are two types of corruption: personal, and then the other I'm going to call public, governmental. Attorney General, have you ever been registered as an agent of a foreign principal under the Foreign Agents Registration Act?
I assume you're talking about when I represented the country of Qatar for a very short time.
Hold on. No,
hold on.
excuse me.
No.
No.
For anti-human trafficking for the World Cup. Anti-human trafficking
or
for the
no?
World Cup.
Attorney
you can't
General,
put words in my mouth.
No.
You want to talk about incompetence? You're the one that
Excuse
said
me.
Joe Biden on PBS was competent. You had to retract those words.
Mr.
So don't
Chairman,
talk to me. Don't insult me publicly.
this is so discourteous. This is so outside the committee's guidelines. Taking a personal shot at me while swiping at Biden, very strange and very unprofessional of you. The answer is yes or no, and the answer is yes. You were registered as a lobbyist for Qatar. Is that correct? Yes. Never mind, don't answer. Did you disclose that when you went before for the Senate for confirmation? Yes or no? No, it was not in your documents. The answer is no. President Trump.
This was discussed at my confirmation hearings in detail.
It was discussed, but you failed to bring up the conflict that you had. President Trump recently announced he'd accept that $400 million Qatar airplane because it was just prettier than the one he was flying around in. Is it true that you gave advice that this was legally permissible? Yes or no?
I will not discuss any advice that my Office of Legal Counsel gives to the President of the United States on any matter.
When you spoke before the Senate, you said you would ask for ethical advice. Did you recuse yourself from that issue?
And talking about unprofessional, you say the President wanted a jet because it's pretty?
Excuse
Come
me.
on, this is a Senate, this is
He
a
said it
congressional
himself.
hearing.
He said it himself. Let me go to April the 2nd. You're a part of this, the president has dabbled in meme coin. He had the DOJ, disband the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team. His son recently launched the Executive Branch Club, a private club with $500,000 memberships here in D.C. Any of this seem like it might be a problem, might be profiteering from the office, and maybe you and your ethics team might be concerned about these conflicts of interest, your own and the president and his family? Yes or no? Any concerns?
What I would be concerned about in Pennsylvania are all the child sex cases that we've prosecuted, all the CSAM cases that we've prosecuted.
Did you hear
in
my question?
Pennsylvania.
I
That's
asked
what
the
I would
witness
be
to
concerned
actually
about.
answer questions that are asked.
Congresswoman Dean.
Chairman,
Please let the witness answer the question.
she didn't. And I would like to ask you one more question. You're not just complicit in this, you're actively helping and profiting. Isn't it true that on April the 2nd, the same day that Trump announced his chaotic tariff regime that plummeted the stock market, you sold more than $1 million worth of your shares in Trump Media stock? Trump Media stock fell 13% in the following days. Seems you avoided that loss. Well done. I yield back.
May I answer that, Chairman? I complied with my ethics, and Yeah, I would take a class in financial literacy if you think I profited from that, because I lost a tremendous amount of money. Congresswoman, and also on page 25 of my SJ2, it lists my involvement with Qatar for anti-human trafficking for the World Cup. Thank you.
But instead of answering, Bondi stumbled. That was discussed in my confirmation hearings, she said, trying to move past it. Except Dean wasn't letting go. Because the truth wasn't in the hearings, it was in the silence that followed. When the cameras zoomed in, you could almost see Bondi realizing that one wrong answer could unravel everything. And that's when Dean hit the second question, the one that turned the hearing from uncomfortable to explosive. Did you disclose that connection when you went before the Senate for confirmation? Bondi paused. No sound. The pause said more than any answer could. Dean didn't need to raise her voice, she just waited. And when she finally spoke again, her words sliced through the air. It wasn't in your documents. The answer is no. That was it. One sentence and the mask slipped. But what came next pulled the entire hearing into dangerous territory. Dean brought up the one topic no one expected her to touch, the blanket pardons issued on the first day of the administration. Did you have any advice for the president when he pardoned every January 6th defendant? Dean asked. The room froze. Bondi's smile vanished. She tried to pivot, tried to hide behind official language. I'm not going to discuss any advice given to the president. But it wasn't just one refusal. It became a pattern. Every question the same shield. I will not discuss, I am not going to answer. That's privileged. Each refusal made the silence louder, and Dean wasn't buying it. You say you stand with law enforcement, she fired back, but 5 Capitol police officers are no longer here because of that day. Talk to my friends who were there. That single line cut through every legal defense Bondi had rehearsed. Because this wasn't about politics, it was about people. About officers who defended democracy and never came home. The audience fell quiet. You could see the tension on Bondi's face, the weight of the accusation hanging in the air. Dean wasn't just arguing law. She was exposing hypocrisy. How could someone claim to protect justice while defending those who tried to destroy it? How could an attorney general invoke law and order while staying silent on the pardons that undermined both? And it was in that silence that the entire narrative of power began to unravel. But Dean wasn't done. She shifted the focus from morality to money, from principle to profit. Let's talk about Qatar, she said, her tone sharpening again. You were registered as a lobbyist for a foreign government, correct? Bondi attempted a careful explanation. It was for anti-human trafficking work tied to the World Cup, but Dean saw through it. Anti-human trafficking, she repeated. Or influence trafficking. The hearing room went still again, because everyone knew what that question really meant. Qatar, the same government that had deep business ties with figures close to the administration. Qatar, which had just gifted a $400 million luxury jet because it was prettier than the president's current one. And here was the Attorney General, someone who once worked for that same government, refusing to say whether she'd recused herself from decisions involving it. That's not just optics. That's a conflict of interest in plain sight. And when Bondi brushed it off with another polished non-answer, Dean didn't let it slide. This isn't about beauty, she snapped. It's about corruption. That word corruption landed like a hammer. Because in that moment, Dean turned a personal confrontation into a national indictment. There are 2 kinds of corruption, she said, personal and public, and this administration has both. The cameras caught every expression in the room. You could see even the aides shifting in their seats. No one wanted to meet her eyes, because what she was describing wasn't a rumor, it was a pattern. When government officials blur the line between public service and private gain, when they treat ethics like a box to check instead of a standard to uphold, that's how institutions rot from within. And Bondi's refusal to speak wasn't just silence, it was a symbol. Every "I won't discuss" wasn't protecting national security, it was protecting power. Dean kept pressing. Did you recuse yourself from advising on the Qatar aircraft deal? Bondi tried again to deflect. Excuse me, this is a Senate hearing, she said defensively. Dean's reply came fast. He said it himself. You could almost feel the frustration radiating through the room. The facade of professionalism was cracking, replaced by flashes of real anger and real fear. What made this exchange different from the usual political theater was the stakes. Because behind every question was something bigger, the erosion of accountability. When those in charge believe they're too powerful to be questioned, democracy doesn't fall overnight, it decays one silence at a time. Bondi's unwillingness to answer wasn't just frustrating, it was dangerous. And yet amid all the evasions, the hearing revealed something else too, the power of persistence. Dean's refusal to let go, to keep asking the uncomfortable questions, became a symbol of what public service is supposed to look like. Uncompromising, uncomfortable, unyielding. She wasn't performing for cameras, she was forcing the truth into daylight. By this point Bondi had gone from defensive to visibly shaken. Her repeated attempts to reclaim time, to deflect, to hide behind procedure, it all made one thing clear: the truth wasn't on her side. And the audience could see it. Every non-answer made her look smaller. Every question made Dean stronger. It's easy to underestimate moments like this, but hearings are one of the few places left where real accountability can still happen, where powerful people are forced, even briefly, to face the questions they spend their careers avoiding. And when someone like Dean refuses to back down, it reminds everyone watching that truth still has defenders. Because this wasn't just a clash of personalities, it was a clash of principles. Dean stood for transparency, Bondi stood for silence. Dean fought for accountability, Bondi fought for control. And in that contrast you could see the deeper sickness that's been eating away at American institutions for years, the normalization of ethical blindness. Bondi didn't just dodge questions, she embodied the system's refusal to self-correct. A Justice Department that shields the powerful instead of defending justice isn't a department of law, it's a fortress of privilege. And every time someone like Bondi refuses to answer, that fortress grows taller. But the hearing also reminded us of something else: that walls can crack. When Dean spoke of her fallen friends, when she demanded to know how a government could pardon those who attacked them, that crack widened. Because no amount of political spin can cover grief. No procedural excuse can disguise betrayal. The truth is, this confrontation wasn't about left or right, it was about right and wrong. It was about whether justice still means something when the people in charge of enforcing it start treating it like a PR slogan. Dean's persistence, her calm fire, made it impossible to look away. And Bondi's silence made it impossible to forget. By the end, Bondi looked less like the confident attorney general who had walked in and more like someone cornered by her own contradictions. Each deflection, each refusal, each "I will not discuss," wasn't protecting her anymore, it was condemning her. And that's what makes this moment so powerful. It's not about one person's downfall, it's about the mirror it holds up to power itself. A reminder that truth doesn't disappear just because those in charge refuse to speak it. A reminder that silence isn't strength, it's surrender. What Madeleine Dean did in that hearing was bigger than a viral clip. It was a small act of resistance in a system that's grown too comfortable with corruption. She reminded everyone watching that real leadership isn't about loyalty to power, it's about loyalty to principle. Because at the end of the day, democracy doesn't die in a single act. It dies in 1,000 little silences, in every "I will not discuss," in every "the end's not for me to answer," in every official who puts politics above truth. So when you see someone like Dean refuse to stay quiet, pay attention. That's what integrity looks like in a world that's forgotten the meaning of it. And when you see someone like Bondi dodge accountability, remember, this is why hearings matter, this is why transparency matters. Because without it, all we're left with are people in power hiding behind procedure, and citizens wondering what happened to justice. If you believe that public servants should serve the people, not presidents, not foreign interests, and not their own careers, then this hearing wasn't just another headline. It was a wake-up call. Stay engaged, stay informed. Because the moment we stop paying attention is the moment corruption wins. If you've made it this far, you're already part of the few who still care enough to look deeper. So hit subscribe, share this video, and join the conversation. Because truth only survives when enough people are willing to fight for it. And this is where that fight begins.